including sewage and other waste. And the sources are those. Ua, we are a big source of waste. The lodges that we have in there, they are a big source of waste. Because we wanted to understand, if you are to do measures to control this waste, you need to understand where this waste comes from and what is the majority of the waste we generate. The road users, and of course the developers. Then we have other stakeholders like our sister security agencies that help us to protect these protected areas. They also generate a lot of waste, and apparently they are not, we don't visit them a lot to see what is going on there. So they do a lot of damage in terms of waste management. And then we have soil erosion. We have some protected areas that are downstream mountains. I'll give you an example of Semliki National Park. As you know, it is downstream of Rwenzori Mountains. And whatever happens up there in the mountains, whenever it rains, all of it comes downwards. Our staff in Semliki are very good with waste management, but this waste just comes whenever it rains. In the mountain, sometimes it doesn't even rain in the park, but it rains up there, and all the erosion carries the kavera from the communities there, from the gardens, from the roads, and all of it goes into the protected area in that thick forest in Semliki. Then we have in Queen, what is that section? There is Chambura, around that town Chambura there. So Chambura Trading Center is up, and then we have Queen down. So everything that happens in that trading center, everything, there are lodges there, there's a lot of roasting of chicken, there's a lot of selling of water and all that. When it rains, it goes downwards, and the ecosystem around there has changed. There is a lot of invasive species there. There is a lot that is going on there in terms of waste. Plastics they have compiled over time, you know. So I said I reduced my slides, so now I want to show you some of the pictures. I'll not mention where exactly we took these pictures, but these are pictures we took. As you can see, the bins overflow. You see the plastics, the kavera. And then we have some areas where people dig pits, and then they mix the food waste, and they mix the kavera, the plastics, and afterwards cover. Huh? Imagine the compounding effect. Everywhere we have people, whether outposts, lodges, gates, and all that, and we keep doing this. Huh? This is going to compound to something big after 20 years, 30 years, you know. So we also had some, this is also, you know, from one of the lodges there. We had some good practices we came across, you know. Some places are trying to put up measures to make sure that they collect this waste, but again, you find that, yes, they have put the bins in place, but the sorting doesn't happen, so they, after picking these bins, they go and put in the other pits I showed you when the waste is not properly sorted. All these. I think I still have like 3 minutes or 5? 3 minutes. Thank you so much. And sewage as well. These are just pictures for you to appreciate the situation and why we had to take some measures to make sure we control the problem. See? All that. Different areas. Pictures. So, there are risks. And I'm not going to go through these risks, but in summary, there is environmental pollution, as you would expect. The threat to wildlife. Some of the wildlife gets entangled. Some wildlife ingest this. These pictures are not from Uganda. I just got them from the internet, but they are not from Uganda. But these are cross-cutting problems everywhere. Yeah. the ecosystem imbalances. We are seeing a lot of invasive species coming on board, but some of these could be coming from this waste management. And this is, since this is a research symposium, I would like to encourage you to pick interest in studying the impact of this waste in detail, scientifically, to the ecosystem, to the wildlife and the habitats. Yeah? And this one here, the negative impact on tourism and reputation, I think I need to mention something here, because our tourists are very well aware of the environment they come to. If they come and find this waste, for example, they come and find when someone is burning waste at the gate there, it doesn't give a very good picture. And this burning is taking place, loss of revenue and all that. So, the National Environment Act and the waste management regulations in this country, they are all relatively new, and they have very stringent provisions for waste management. They put the responsibility to manage waste to the generator of waste, to the polluter, you know. So, we looked at all these requirements in the Act and came up with waste management guidelines in wildlife protected areas. We looked at the regulations, we looked at the Act, we looked at also the Wildlife Act and the best practices, you know, internationally. And as Uganda Wildlife Authority, we developed guidelines on waste management to really address those problems I've showed you in the pictures. So these waste management guidelines have been approved by our board, and they were very, very happy and excited to really see that these guidelines are finalized and get out there and guide UWA and all stakeholders in these protected areas to ensure that the waste problem is sorted. So the main aim is really to guide the entire process from waste generation, storage, collection, transportation, and disposal in all our estates, you know. And they are supposed to be utilized by individuals entering the protected areas, such as visitors, you know, tourists, researchers, the tour operators, guides, park staff, and surrounding communities, among other, whoever is accessing the protected area should be guided by these guidelines to ensure that we safeguard our ecosystem and also protect the aesthetic beauty of our protected areas. These are the specific objectives. I'm not taking you through all these, just the specific objectives, and I think I have 2 more slides to end. Yeah, so the key aspects in these guidelines, the outstanding aspect of these guidelines is that we have prohibited the single-use plastics. So in a few months to come, after we have raised awareness, after we have put in place measures, appropriate measures, for people to have alternatives at the gates and everywhere, we need to raise awareness of our staff, of our concessionaires, of everyone, the tour operators, the visitors, and all that. We are going to start now implementing the guidelines, and the key thing there is that we are not going to allow single-use plastics in our protected area. It's not easy, because as a country, this is not the case, but for us, we are going to try, because we're not going to see, you saw the pictures there? We are not going to see our parks getting suffocated with this waste and just sit and we wait for NEMA to come up with the measures. No, for us, we are going to stop the use of plastics in our protected areas. So we are going to implement these guidelines, but we have realized that as Uganda Wildlife Authority, we don't have a comprehensive waste management plan as an institution. So the plans are already underway to develop a waste management plan for Uganda Wildlife Authority, which will speak to the key aspects where we need to make investments to ensure that this waste is sorted. So as we speak, next week or the other week, we are going to have, we have already set up a team within UA that is going to come up with this plan, and we will be consulting some of you stakeholders so you can share with us the good practices we have learned from other places, from the research you have conducted, from, you know, so that we incorporate all these things in our waste management plan. If you have any issues you think we need to look into even before the workshop, you are very welcome to share with me. You can share with me, you can share with my colleagues in, or whoever you come across, maybe in the breaks, because the time may not be enough. Our colleagues in ecological monitoring and research are going to be very much part of this process. Everyone in UA, you see, you share with them, and the information will reach us and ensure that we look into those suggestions. Thank you very much.
A round of applause to Charimpa. Thank you so much. I want to call on Dr. Caro. And then after that, we can pick 2 or 3 concerns or inquiries from the public, from the audience, about Dr. Komakechi's presentation, Madam Charimpa, and then Caro is coming on. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm here to take you through briefly about the research application protocol that we need at Uganda Wildlife Authority when you're going to do research that involves wildlife, both inside and outside protected areas. I do not have a PowerPoint because mine is more of a talk. I've had so many questions on what is the protocol, what is required, but I'm going to briefly take you through the key questions we've been receiving and how to support you to improve the process, and is the long process that we always go through. So when you're applying to do research which involves wildlife, or inside a protected area. For outside, we don't mind if it's in people, we don't give you permit. But if you're going to enter the parks, we need a detailed proposal. The proposal should be detailed with clear objectives, clear methodologies, because these are the ones we are going to base on to review your application. You fill in the UA online application form. In the preamble of that form, we require your CV, we require a copy of your biodata. If you're a foreigner researcher, we need the biodata of your passport page. If you're a Ugandan, the ID. You take a picture and you print that, and it accompanies your application. We need an introductory letter from your institution that you're affiliated to. For example, if you're from Makerere, we need a letter recommending you from Makerere. etc., etc. We need a passport photo, size photo to attach to your application form. We need insurance cover. You're going to be working in the wildlife protected area. We need to be sure that you are covered by insurance, and we do not take the blame if anything happens when you're in the park. So sometimes we require you to sign an indemnity where we do not take responsibility for your life when you're in the park. And depending also on the research you're going to do, we've got people who want to do research that is so risky. You're climbing up the tree. We do not want to be held responsible. So we sign another kind of agreement with you that you are responsible solely for your life. We need you to apply 2 months before you intend to come and start your research to reduce the pressure on our side, because you're so many that need these permits, and there are very few people who are reviewing. So when you give us 1 week before, and the next day you're in our office saying, my permit you have delayed, it's not fair for us. So in that online form, we have there, we recommend 2 months before you intend to go to start your research. This gives us time to go through the review process. What do we consider when we are reviewing your permits? The relevance of this research you're going to do. If someone else is doing the same research in the same area, we don't want conflict. So we may call you to try and review and see if it's duplication of efforts or not. Is it invasive to the wildlife and the ecosystem? We've had people who want to do experiments where they are bringing in alien species in the park. We may be forced to reject once we assess the risk and we find that it is not friendly to the ecosystem. So we may be forced to say no, but we don't say no without explaining to you the reasons why, as to why we're saying no. We consider the welfare of the animals. If you're going to do an experiment, someone wants to bring vaccines and test them on our apes, we are again going to be saying no. We consider the welfare of the animals when we are reviewing this. You want to collar animals? Yes, collaring is good. It helps us in ecological monitoring, but when it's too much, and when you do not have the protocol on how you're going to monitor, maintain, and when they will drop off, then again we may have to call you for consideration. And not all animals should be collared. You cannot come to say, I'm going to collar the great apes, the mountain gorillas, which are critically endangered. And again, we say yes. We have so many considerations that we put in place before we allow your permit to go through. Retrospective studies. We've had people who did illegal entry and conducted their research, and then they come, they want a permit which starts in 2015. Now, you're here in 2017, for example, and someone wants you to give a permit which is retrospective. Again, we shall say no, because we only give permits for studies that are going to be prospective, no retrospective. If you did it illegally because the ethical conduct, it always catches up with us. We shall still say no, you may have to cancel or repeat the same study, unfortunately. But there will never be any retrospective permit coming from Uganda Wildlife Authority. I need you to take note of that, because we've had several people coming seeking for permits for studies they have already conducted, and we do not allow that. Compliance. When we give you the permit, we indicate when you are supposed to submit reports to Uganda Wildlife Authority. When you are doing research in the parks, we also want to know what you found. For the same reasons we are here, we want to see what are the gaps so that we fill them in. Now, when we give you a permit and you get your results and go and sleep with your report, we shall get you next time when you want another permit to go back. And there are many people who have faced that challenge. When you do not submit a report and you violated the compliance, we also get you there and we say no, we are not going to give you a permit. If you do not submit on time as indicated in your permit, again, you're violating the compliance agreement, and you find challenges when you're seeking the next permit. So depending on all these reviews that I've talked about, we can reject, we can call you in to discuss and we see how to improve, or you can get your approval immediately. Sometimes they come through even within 2 weeks, but sometimes they delay because of that to and fro discussion that happens. The fees, we always tell you to refer to the running tariff, and you only pay fees after you have gotten the approval. Ugandans, we are really trying our best. We want to build the capacity of the Ugandans. So when you're a Ugandan volunteer or field research assistants, we usually, or an undergraduate student, we don't charge you any fees if you've gone through the tariff that is running on our website. If you're a master's student, we charge you a small fee because there are costs involved. You're going to be in the field, there are personnel. So we charge you just a small fee, 20,000 at the moment on the running tariff. It may change with time. PhDs, the fee again for application is very small, 50,000. Then we charge you a monthly fee, depending on the running tariff. Foreign researchers and long-term researchers, application fee is $100 at the moment, and then we charge you a monthly fee. Now, the month, we are following the calendar months. If you come, for example, you have 1 month, but you start on 15th of June, and you're ending on 15th of July, those are 2 months. Please take note of that when you're applying so that you schedule yourself to make sure you don't run into the next month when you intend to pick samples to go in the field and pick your data for 1 month. We have a 300 report security fee. And as I said, when you violate the compliance, again, we get you there. We don't refund that money because we tell you it is a report security fee, which is once and refundable upon you submitting our report. So if you don't submit the report, we don't expect you to demand for the money. And if you do not submit on time, it also may go through the same disciplinary action. When we give you the permit, please, you are always required to also seek permission from Uganda National Council of Science and Technology. So when our permit is not really the final, always get that to avoid disappointment when it's time for publishing your results. When you reach the field with our permit, please report to the park authority and present what you are going to do, because we will need the team on the ground to make sure what you applied to do is what you are going to do. We have got cases where people reach the field and change methodologies, they get excited, start picking samples, which were not in their methodology. And at that point, the park authority is permitted to inform us and we cancel your permit. Do not change methodologies without seeking approval from the executive director who gave you the permit. We have park associated risks. So when you reach the park, why we encourage you to first report to the park and present what you're going to do. They assess the risk and give you the right staff to work with you. Do not go to the field and start imposing on which staff you want to work with unless the park has advised you otherwise. Specimen collection, when you pick samples from the park, it should have been clearly stated in your methodology that you are going to pick samples. Do not reach there and start picking samples, because that is a change of methodology and we have a right to withdraw your permit. When you also intend to add new personnel to your permit, please again seek approval from the executive director who gave you the original permit. We have had cases where someone is doing long-term and has PhD and master's students. When they reach the park, they find a new study which could fit in, and they bring a master's student from out and add them. No one knows. Then suddenly you get a request. This particular person wants to export samples to go and do analysis outside. They need an MTA. You look through all the database, you don't have a name of this person. So you start asking, who is this? And they're like, oh, this is a master's student. We just added them in. We found that this objective needed to be answered. Who gave you the permission? So we can't answer for such a person who entered from nowhere, because this is a park. If a lion eats them, will they come to Uganda Wildlife Authority to demand for their person that they were in the park doing research? We don't have them anywhere on the list. So we need to calculate these risks before we undertake them to protect the citizens, but also for our own protection as Uganda Wildlife Authority. We would rather withdraw your permit if you cannot obey the approved permit. Samples require, if you are picking samples, take them out, you require a material transfer agreement. We have a lab in Mwea. We are strongly encouraging anyone picking samples to find out if our lab is able to do that analysis. In the near future, we want to build the capacity of Uganda, so we'll not be allowing most of the samples that can be analyzed in country to go out. So please take note of that. and build our own capacity to reduce the risks of seeking MTAs to take samples out and build the other labs and leave ours empty. Some samples require CITES, and therefore, when you're picking them, you need to first review that and know, because that is also another extra cost that you need to consider. And all these are paid upon you presenting. For us, we need a verification from the chief warden and the research and ecological monitoring officers at park level that indeed you pick these samples and they are the ones that you're putting in your permit. Otherwise, someone can pick a snail, a frog, they pick a monkey, and they tell us they picked insects. The fees are always different, and we need our team to verify what you picked. Some samples and some findings are very sensitive, so sometimes we reconsider. But also when you find findings that are very sensitive, but could influence a change, or make Uganda Wildlife Authority intervene in time to prevent it from escalating to a disaster, please inform us on time. Don't wait and be excited to publish your results when the park is dying, when animals are dying. When you find some sensitive things, inform the park authority immediately. It will be very disheartening when we see that in your findings you found the whole area is cut down and planted with the tobacco, but for you, you didn't inform the park authority to take action because now you're interested. This is a new finding for you. Please, let's be sensitive to what we want to publish, but also inform the authority for timely intervention. Research stations, you are there, you are our eyes. Please always review these reports that are coming in. Review the methodologies. Look at the proposal that was submitted. Make sure that the researchers you have are not violating the methodology, because if you do not support us in that regard, we always get challenges when we are reviewing our agreements together. You are our eyes on the ground. Support us, please. I think that is mainly what I wanted to share, but we really welcome you, especially for those who are doing studies that involve species that we have for so long neglected. We welcome you. We are looking for partnership, and when you come in to be a collaborator and you want to collaborate with us, I was telling some people, please don't push us in the kitchen when you're publishing. When you say you collaborated with Uganda Wildlife Authority, we have officers in those parks where you're working. If they worked with you from the beginning to the end, why do you push them in the kitchen? Put them also among the authors, because some of these officers, they have to be in publications. We need to improve their capacity. If you're doing a methodology, improve their capacity, involve them, let them learn. But when you push them on in the kitchen, it also pains us when you say, we collaborated with Uganda Wildlife Authority. Just say you got a permit. So we are really interested in working with all of you. I've got very many people with research proposals that we are interested in, and we decide to collaborate and work together. In that way, you're building our capacity. We need sustainability, because with no funds, these are the same people who are going to continue monitoring and protecting these resources. With that, I thank you so much, and we look forward to working together to conserve our biodiversity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Caro, for that presentation. I think in the interest of time, we are not going to bring them here. But if there are 2-3 emerging issues from Caro's presentation, Madam Charimpa and Dr. Komakech, kindly, Isaiah, you can help me move this mic. We are picking a maximum 2 from each presentation in the interest of time, so that we go for break tea and we come back for the original issues.
Yes, thank you very much, moderator, and all the colleagues who have presented. My first concern is an appeal to Dr. Komakech. There is a group of people who do a good job of waste management, whom I call the urban poor. Those local people who go around picking plastics, selling them, we have not put them into consideration. So I want to request him to have an interest in finding out their role as far as waste management is concerned. And then also to my sister Charimpa, what could be the issue of waste in the park? Is it a policy issue or an attitudinal issue? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dan. Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. Session Chair. My name is Tadeo Soke for purposes of records. My question is going to Madam Charimpa. I happen to do a baseline survey in Kasenyi because I'm not seeing where she's seated. I'm trying to look around. I happen to do a baseline survey in Kasenyi, especially on the issue of solid waste management. I have some report, and I was preparing this for the grant to the United Nations Environment Program. Now you realize that when you go to that particular enclave, there is a lot of waste mismanagement and disposal. Those of you who have been to Kasenyi who come from Queen, there are a lot of plastics everywhere. Some of these are combined with the fecal sludge and other waste from kitchens, etc. Now, my question is, what plans do you have as Uganda Wildlife Authority to clear the waste that is already existing in some of these enclaves, especially in Queen Elizabeth National Park, which you all know that is a critical area considered as a man and biosphere reserve. Otherwise, in case you need more information, I'm willing to work with you to support, especially on issues of plastic waste management. Thank you so much.
Dr. Margaret, let us be gender, Dr. Margaret is there. Let us be gender responsive.
Thank you so much. I'm very glad that Dr. Carroll, you have elaborated the procedures. I want to add, Dr. Patrick is here. For those who are doing health research concerning animal subjects and human subjects, there is an ethical approval. Kira University Faculty of Veterinary is the one that does the one for animals. Then the one for humans is done at the Health Sciences Department at Mulago. When I was there in the Office of Research, I saw that gap. And when you tell a researcher that, look, you have missed to get this permit, they get very angry with you and start yelling, this is not how we used to do it, and things like that. So please take note, because it has legal implications. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Margaret. I want to pick another lady, then to pick two gentlemen, and we call it off. There is a hand here.
Thank you, moderator. My question is to Dr. Komakech. It's a question and maybe also a comment. I know you explained very well the state of environment is 2 years and it's a legal requirement. And you told us all these good and concerns about our state of environment. But the things that have been in the set of environment have serious policy implications. I don't know, NEMA, how often, and being intentional, to have these policy briefs to Parliament, because I know there is a committee on natural resources for Parliament that are responsible for these policy provisions together with the ministry, to see how some of the things can be addressed, because you know there's a lot of the politics in it to address some of those things. For example, about population, we have that issue of so many refugees in the host districts, a lot of degradation. So I would like to know how intentional and that NEMA is doing these policy briefs very often to Parliament. Because these parliamentarians have a very key role they play in actually having these things addressed or accelerated. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let us sample someone from behind there. Sorry if I'm sounding unfair. We are trying to balance the boat. And we are conscious about time.
Thank you so much. My name is Natamba Kariba from UWRTC. My question goes to our presenter about waste management. I like that when we find out like the challenge, we respond quickly or faster to curb or to reduce on the further outcomes. So my question is, if waste management policies already exist, why do you think the problem persists? And what strategies can we set in a short time frame to curb this situation? Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Vanura has stayed on for long. Then I'll get my brother and we shall end it with Mr. Mutebi. So you can start from there, come here, and then we shall close it from here. And we give the presenters the chance to respond to those issues.
Yes, thank you very much. My question goes to Dr. Komakech, and my concern is about the environmental indicator species in our environment. To mention a few, these are the amphibians and then the aquatic macroinvertebrates. There are a lot of developments going on, and we are losing these species in our environment. And when it comes to the state of environmental reports, little attention is given to this. And these species majorly determines the quality of the environment we are looking at we are living in. So what is the status of these environmental indicator species in according to our state of environmental report? Thank you.
Let's cross to Mr. Vanura and we shall end with me.
Thank you, Chair. I ask this question while I'm cognizant that where we are, or where this facility is actually in a wetland. So given that the rapid urbanization in Uganda is transforming land use patterns and putting pressure on natural ecosystems, how is the current urban planning framework addressing the need to balance the development with the environmental conservation?
I think this one is for Mr. Komakech.
That is for Mr. Komakech, Dr. Komakech.
Okay, that's Mr. Muteri, and then the presenters respond to the issues from the audience.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Mine is to Dr. Carol. Thank you for the wonderful speech and highlighting the requirements. My question is, I think you fell short in mentioning, is there a possibility for someone not in this room but intending to do research on wildlife or within protected areas, being able to access all these requirements without necessarily visiting, or are they provided for, like, do we have guidelines stating all these requirements and someone can have a checklist what they require before they actually approach OA? And then second is you mentioned the need to build national capacity, and it only came out that you waive off fees, like setting minimal fees for national researchers on Ugandans. My question would be is, we have very many foreign researchers, and I think the biggest proportion of researchers in the country in respect to wildlife are foreigners. What is the requirement what would be the requirement, if not there already, in terms of maybe requiring them to have national affiliation to an institution, like could be a university or a research facility, or having a national researcher as part of their team, not necessarily as porters or casual laborers, but rather technical aspect in the perspective of trying to build capacity, and of course, like you mentioned, eventually having them as co-authors on these papers. And then lastly is on intellectual property rights. I know the biggest credit goes to the innovator, the researcher who eventually finds these novel discoveries. But some of these resources are national treasures, and how do we safeguard the interest of the country and continue to benefit from the commercialization of these discoveries? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Mtebi. Let us start with Dr. Komakech. He'll respond to issues in his space. Then we shall cross to Madam Charimpa, and we shall end it with Dr. Caro.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very much, moderator, for giving me the opportunity again. And I am delighted to receive these responses from the participants. Allow me start from my brother who hinted on the role played by the informal waste pickers. I think we owe them lots of gratitude because of them. That's why you see that sometimes most of these urban centers we have, they are clean, and probably why some of the drainage systems are not blocked in some of these urban centers. What is very key here is that there's supposed now to be a deliberate effort by all these different urban authorities across the country to begin to recognize the role played. Of course, it is being done, but it has now to be done from a deliberate perspective so that their role, and they also feel that they are playing a great role because they make our environment look good, and we really do recognize their role. And as NEMA, we are very, very proud of them because of the work that they do, because they link the producers of some of these products to the people who recycle these products. Sometimes these producers, they produce, they will not know where these products end, but it is these informal waste pickers who end up picking up these wastes, like plastics, and then they take it to the people who do the recycling. And I think that is also more because of the engagement that we normally have with the community. Community are made aware that within what people think is waste, there is actually a lot of wealth. And so because of that information reaching out to the population, that's why when you now move around, you find that the number of these waste pickers, from plastics to metals and all that. What is key now is to try to build their capacity so that they can do a better, more job. Because now when you meet some of these trucks carrying these plastics, you see that they are overloaded, but they could have done it in a better way, maybe threading it first and then packaging so that it can reach the destination. So we recognize that role and we are very grateful. Number two, how often is NEMA interacting with the environment and the Committee on the Environment and the Natural Resources of Parliament? Of course, the interaction, I would say, it is on a daily basis. Because if you are in that committee, then you know that the interaction with them and NEMA is actually on a daily basis. But specifically talking about the National State of Environment report, every time we produce the National State of Environment report, we are mandated to present this to the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Actually, this very report was presented to them, and that was in 2025. That's when we made this presentation to the committee. And this was somewhere along Entebbe, there's a hotel along Entebbe Road, where I was really honored again on behalf of my executive director and top management to present this to the committee, which they appreciated and they took note. And so I'm sure some of the action points, they could have already acted on it. And it is a continuous process. Matters to do with environment is a daily thing. We need to continue to work together, to remind one another to be responsible when we are using our environment. Because at the end of the day, the environment is for all of us. And what your friend does wrong somewhere can affect you several kilometers away. Now, the next one is on, I love that there's a gentleman who raised the issue about, especially the invertebrates, those ones that live maybe in the soil. To what extent are they taken care of? I am one of those, I have a background in zoology. I'm one of those people who always campaign for those guys. They are not seen by many people, but they are there and they play critical roles. Now, there is what is called the Environment Social Impact Assessment, which is supposed to be done before any development takes off. And it is in that process that is where those guys who live below the earth, below the soil, they are supposed to be taken care of. Somebody needs to do some assessment and document. And we can only become even much better by continuously building the capacity of the assessors. I mean the practitioners, those who carry out the Asia, the certification and the documentation before the building is done. So we need to continuously build their capacity so that they don't only take care of what everybody can see, but they should also take care of those other things which many people may not be able to see, but those guys are there and they play a critical role in the environment. So I think that is very good and we appreciate that. And I think the last one, let me see. The last one was on sustainable environment, balancing development and environment sustainability. And I think, of course, I don't want to make reference again to this place. Somebody already said that. How do we balance development and environment sustainability? Again, it goes back to what I've just said, that as a country, we normally carry out that environment, social and impact assessment before any development takes place in the country. And that is our responsibility. And normally in that process, interviews are done and assessments are done so that we document whatever is in a place, and we see that the value of what is likely to be put there does not infringe greatly on the environment, and that is how it is balanced. Now, where we feel that this has to be there, like there was a transmission line that was, I don't want to talk about it, electricity transmission line that went through a forest. There was need for it to go through that. Now, if government sees that there is need for it to go through that, there is always what they do, they call offsetting. The very company which is doing that work, or the very people who are doing that development, they must make sure that they offset. They create a similar thing of what they have destroyed here. They maybe perform a different duty somewhere, like protecting another ecosystem somewhere, maybe taking seedlings or something like that, based on what they could have destroyed during that development. So there are a number of things that take place behind the scene. So a building might be here, but the owner of this building or the owner of any development somewhere could have been told that now that you have put this here, how many trees have you destroyed? What are the species of trees? And where can they survive? And in that case, they are required to go and plant it somewhere, and they take care of it for a given number of years so that they can somewhat give the services of that very plant or animal here to another community. So that is, or adjacent community. So that is what happens. So there's always that, and Asia plays a critical role in that. With that, I would like to say thank you, and God bless all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Komakech. Let us cross to Madam Charimpa.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much for the feedback you have given us on the waste management situation in our protected areas. I want to summarize the response because most of the questions were related, the feedback were related to what plans and strategies do we have in place to ensure that we address the situation. Yeah, but before that, I wanted to note that the issue of waste management, the poor waste management practices we have, are affected by so many factors. Some of it is policy, because as you know, in this country, we try to ban plastics, single-use plastics at national level, but that was not successful enough because you remember the microns, 30 microns. Now people are producing 31. Others are even producing 30.5, you know? And we have no capacity to really measure those microns. See, the waste that was, the plastics, the Kavera that was banned is 30 and below. So it is a bit of a national problem because everywhere it is very difficult to manage this waste as a country, but we are going to try our level best. And like I said, we have started with the guidelines. We want to have clear guidelines, and we want to disseminate these guidelines so everyone who accesses our protected area, the lodges, the tourists, the tour operators, the researchers, we want to build a critical mass so that people appreciate the challenge we have at hand and some of the solutions we can together implement, because this waste issue is everyone's responsibility. Because I can choose to go in the park and because these places are remote and I throw something there when no one is seeing me, you know. So we are raising awareness. We are also training our staff on ground to make sure they follow up on these things, to make sure they do the right thing. Because one of the biggest challenges we have faced with the enforcement of these things is that even us within UA, we are not doing a good job. So we don't have proper moral authority to stand before the other stakeholders and tell them to do things, to enforce, when we are also not doing the right thing. So we are raising awareness. The plan I told you about, we want to put in place a plan to be implemented by UA to make sure we have the infrastructure, the capacity, and the the resources to manage the waste, you know. So once we have put up that plan, management is very committed, even in this financial, they have put resources to ensure that we address some of these challenges. And then I want to call upon all of you here to be our partner, our collaborator, to spread the word. We need to tell people that our protected areas need to be free of waste. Let's talk to our colleagues. Talk to people in the car. When you sit in the car, let's have that briefing. You know, the park is not a place for waste management. Waste in, waste out. Let us take it out and let's protect our protected areas so that they are here for generations and generations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I don't still remember if Dr. Caro had issues to address. Yes, Dr. Margaret complimented, but she can take it on from there.
Thank you so much. I had a few questions from Michael. One was on the guidelines, where they can be found, and on the UA online research application form, most of those details I mentioned that we require are there, but we are also developing the national research guideline that should be out before the end of 2026. It will have all those details. And most of them were already contributed by the researchers that we met and when we were doing the review of the policy, but instead we shall change it to the guideline and then a strategy. So it will have all those details, but most of them are already online. So if you if you go to our website and look for the UA online research application form, that preamble has some of those key details that we require. But also the fees are in the UA, the conservation tariff, that is again online. There was a question on foreign researchers to have an affiliation to Uganda institutions. Yes, this used to be actually the practice in the past. Where it got lost, we are still yet to review, but we intend to bring it back in these guidelines. And we strongly encourage, because in the past we're encouraging if you're a PhD student and you're foreign, support a master's student from Uganda so that we stay with the knowledge but also build our local capacity. Long-term researchers, you'll be encouraged also to support PhD students and master's students. And some people are already doing that. So if we put it in the guideline, it will be really more of compulsory, and we'll encourage everyone to do that. There was a question on safeguarding. If you find new discoveries, how do we have some rights as a country to that? This again, I think we'll need more of consultations with different stakeholders, especially if you've discovered something like you find the herbs in Uganda trees are producing something that is really, if you're going to use it to produce some medicines and you're going to commercialize that, but based on our products. This will need a lot of consultations from key stakeholders, and our board have to guide on how we can make sure that Uganda benefits from such. Yes, so when we find we have that opportunity, we shall again go into consultations and we be guided on how to benefit as a country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Caro. Break tea is ready, and I request that when we go for break tea and come back, we move to the different venues for the next set of presentations. And this is how they will run. We have communities, livelihoods, and conservation governance. And those presentations will happen here. And they will appear in two sessions. Session 1 will be chaired by Mr. Joad Baluku, and then session 2 will be chaired by Dr. Margaret. So they will be in this venue. And yes, for venue 2, which is Kampala, down here, they will be focusing on conservation financing, ecotourism, and innovation for biodiversity. And the two sessions will be shared by Dr. Ivan Amangaruhanga and Dr. Emily Otali. So we are going for break tea. It will take maximum 15 minutes. And after that, let us move to the different venues where we have interest and embark on the day's agenda of presentations. Enjoy your break tea. Thank you.